everyone, welcome back to another tutorial. Today we're going to be going through an interactive game and learning how to create it on our own. So what we're going to do first is I'm going to show you the actual game we're going to be creating, and then I'm going to take you step by step on ways to actually create this game and understand what we're doing and what we're coding. So I'm going to click the green flag in the middle, and you can see my bear is following the mouse and eating all of the apples that are on the screen. Once I finish my game, I'm gonna stop it. And so what we're gonna do now is go through all the aspects of how to create this game on your own and understand each of the blocks that we're gonna be utilizing today. So I opened a new tab already and started a new project in which you can do the same. So the first thing that we're going to do today is create our background. So we saw in our game that we were just playing, it was a nice forest theme because we had the bear and he was interacting in his natural habitat. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to go to the right hand side at the bottom. You're going to go and choose a backdrop that's already on Scratch. So what we're going to do is scroll down a little bit and you can see this forest background. You can choose any background you want, but I thought this would be a cute background since we had a bear as our interactive component of the game. So what I'm going to do for the first thing after we set our background is to get rid of the sprite that is already provided, which is always going to be that yellow cat. So I'm just going to delete it using the trash can feature on the right hand corner of the sprite. So I'm just going to delete it. And now what we want to do is import our own sprites that we're going to be utilizing and working with today. So I'm going to hover over that cat symbol. It's going to highlight green and say choose a sprite. So I'm going to click that. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is selecting this sprite right here that says bear walking. And it's going to appear on our screen. Right now, it looks a little big, so what I'm going to do is reduce the size of it. So right now, it's at size 100, and I'm going to change it to size 60 just to make it look a little bit more proportional to the actual setting we have. And I'm going to place it right about here. This is where I want my bear to appear every time I click that green flag. I want him to be in that same exact location. So what we're going to do now is start coding. So I always emphasize that it's important we go to the Advanced tab right here and we click this first block. No matter what we do, we always choose this first block when we start coding. It says when the green flag is clicked. Without that, we will not be able to move forward and create code. So what we want to always do is utilize that tool to be able to begin our code and have the sprite actually follow that code. So once we do that, I'm going to go to the Motions tab and I'm going to make sure I use this block right here. It says go to X and Y coordinate. And if you can see over here, it has the X coordinate and the Y coordinate. That's the coordinates for the exact position this bear is in right now, and it will always adjust. If I move my bear over here, you can see automatically in the block, it adjusts it to be the exact location where the bear is at. So I think that's a very useful tool because we can move our bear anywhere we want, and it will automatically adjust to the position it is at currently. So I'm going to drag that and attach it to when my green flag is clicked. As soon as that green flag is clicked, it will always go to that exact coordination. So let me show you. I'm going to move my bear off to the side. I click the green flag. It'll automatically bring my bear back to that same position. The next thing that we're going to do is utilize the block that says point towards mouse pointer. So I'm going to drag and drop it and attach it to my code. So we don't need to change anything. We don't need to adjust anything with the drop-down menu because that's exactly what we want our sprite to do. Point towards the mouse pointer. And after we do that, we're going to attach another block that says move 10 steps. That's what it automatically will tell you, but we want to adjust that to maybe 4 steps. And now I'm going to test our code that we have, and I'm going to click the green flag. So you automatically see that I click the green flag and my bear points exactly in the position where my pointer is at. You can see how it moves a little bit. So what we want a bear to do is actually move and continuously move as we move our pointer around the screen. So what I'm going to do now is introduce a new block called the forever loop. So you go down to controls and you're going to use this loop right here. And I'm going to drag it right here and detach my point towards mouse pointer and the move 4 steps. I'm going to detach that from the code we already have and insert that in between the forever loop. And then attach my forever loop with the code inside the bracket and attach it to my original code that I had. So now I'm going to click the green flag and you can see my bear moving now as I move my mouse around, right? So now I have my bear following along with my mouse. But what we want with our game is to make it interactive. We want to have the bear eating something to look like he's consuming an apple. So the next thing that we're going to do is introduce that apple. And we're going to choose a sprite that already exists on Scratch. And I want an apple to make it look like the bear is eating it. Okay, so we have our apple, but the apple is a little too big, so we're going to adjust the size as we did it before with the bear. So I'm going to change it to size 50. So it makes it a little bit smaller. And I'm going to place it right about here. So now we're going to start coding our apple. And we're going to code our apple sprite to hide when our apple is touched or eaten by the bear. So I'm going to first use our first block, like we discussed earlier. It's always going to be this first block. And once I do that, I'm going to go to the Motions tab and click go to X and Y coordinate. And then go down to our Looks tab, and we're going to click this Show block and attach it to our code. It's important to include that because when we click our green flag, we want the apple to show. So when we play a game, so I'm going to go back to the game and show you. When we play a game, we eat the apple and it disappears, right? But if I click the green flag, those same apples appear again. So I click the green flag, the apples appear exactly in the position that it was before the bear ate it in the last game. So those apples will automatically appear. So that's why we use that show feature or the show block to make sure it shows up every single time we click the green flag and a new game is started. So what we're going to do now is add a forever loop. This will ensure that the code within the loop continues throughout the entire game. And so I'm going to add that forever loop in the control center, drag and drop that and attach it to our current code. The next piece of code is a conditional statement. So in code, a conditional statement is something that must be true in order to happen. So for instance, if a situation A happens, then situation B will occur. Meaning if A does not occur, then B will not be able to happen either. So B is reliant on A. So what I'm going to do is go to our if and then block and drag that and attach it within the forever bracket. And so this is the same thing I was talking about, the conditional statement, because this block means that if something happens, so if something happens, which will be here, then it will follow the code that it's going to be provided within the bracket. So what we're going to do first is go to our Sensing tab, and we want our apple to hide as if the bear has eaten it, and only if the bear has touched the apple. So what we're going to utilize is that touching mouse pointer block. And we're not going to be utilizing the touching mouse pointer. We want it to touch the bear in order for it to then hide. So I'm going to go to my looks tab and then hide. So just to go over it again, if the bear touches the apple, then the apple will hide. That's what that loop means. And then we have the forever loop around it as well, so that happens continuously and forever while the game is occurring. So what we're going to want to do is right-click our apple and duplicate it. And by doing this, each apple will have the same code that already exists. So now you can see there's another apple. And I'm going to move, let me just make sure. This is apple 2. Yep. So I'm going to move this new apple across the screen. And I'm going to detach the show forever and if loop. And I'm going to delete the go to. And I'm going to reattach this. So now I can duplicate my apple 10 times so that I have no exact location already. Because in this apple that we saw here, we already had our location. So if we duplicate it every single time, it's going to put our apple in the same position, and we don't want to do that. We don't want to get confused with it. So I just deleted that exact location so we would be able to add our new location for each one of these apples. So I'm going to spread these apples around the screen, maybe one in the trees, maybe one in the corner. So keep doing that for each apple that you have. And then once you spread it out, we're going to go to each one of our apples. So we're going to go to our motion tab, and we're going to utilize the block go to X and Y coordinate for each one of our apple. So when we click the green flag, it'll go to that exact same position every single time. So you're going to do that for each one. All right, once we do that, I want to make sure our code works, so I'm going to test it. So I'm going to click the green flag, and I'm going to move my bear across the screen. And let's make sure with the last one, it works perfectly. So I'm going to stop the code. So now that shows that we were able to complete this introductory level game and understand the components of new blocks, as well as understanding how that can work within our code. So we learned in this lesson, we actually went to a new tab called sensing. And so with this new feature, we're able to understand how our apple is able to disappear when our bear is eating it, or how our bear is able to follow our mouse now. So those are two new features we learned in today's lesson, and I hope you guys were able to follow along with me. Please tune in to new videos that will be posted on this channel to be able to learn more about coding. Make sure to leave a comment below if you have any questions regarding this tutorial or anything about coding in general and Scratch. And if you liked today's content and would like to see more, please don't forget to subscribe and leave a like.